All right, let's get to one of the best in the business here in Sacramento. Our friend Sean Cunningham of Fox 40 joins us on the Folsom Lake Honda Hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Sean, as always, we appreciate your time, my man. There are reports today, Sean, that Kyle Kuzma could be headed to Houston. Do you think the Kings are out on Kuzma?
No, I don't know that they'd necessarily be out. Certainly, that would be quite a money grab for Kyle Kuzma, as Houston is obviously one of those teams that have a lot of cap space. But I think it's a way in the next, 24, 48 hours, however things kind of play out, for a lot of liar's poker to be kind of taking place. And, there's all kinds of options possibilities that can happen, especially if you see all this James Harden news that's going on. Some wild circumstances. And if anyone thought this might be a little bit of a quiet offseason, it certainly is it's kind of setting up, and has proven to be anything but. So, no, I don't know that I would totally buy that, but I think Sacramento's still an option if they want to spend some money. I feel like Kyle Kuzma is one of those players that's going to go for the best contract that he can find that's the most lucrative.
Yeah, Nick asked me earlier what I believe of all these rumors that have been floating around. I said nothing, Sean. I believe absolutely nothing. It's lying season right now is what it is. And I think a lot of people maybe assumed or jumped to the conclusion that when the Kings freed up all that cap space with jettisoning Richaun Holmes off to Dallas along with the number 24 pick, that they had one big swing in mind. But the more that I hear, the more I think it's possible it might be 2 or 3 smaller swings that they spend this money on. How likely a possibility do you think that is?
Well, I think either is very possible. In fact, I'd probably take the latter as the more likely, because of the team's interest still in guys like Harrison Barnes. I think that's going to be a move that is likely done. I think, look, the new wrinkle this year is teams being able to, negotiate with their own free agents the day after the finals end. So they've had weeks now to really, and really leading up to that throughout the season, know where Harrison Barnes and his team is at and what they're looking for. But, everything gets a little bit tighter the week of and the days before Friday. So I think you kind of circle the wagons again, and you kind of get back to the table, and you kind of figure out what that number is. And certainly I think the Kings have a number that they're willing to bring him back at, with them talking about Harrison Barnes. If Harrison Barnes wants to go find a more lucrative deal, possibility with Indiana, maybe that's Dallas, maybe that's another team that just pops up. But I would think that the interest is still very much high. And I don't think that that's really all that telling in terms of, or any surprise. I think there's a lot of Kings fans that might be disappointed in that, thinking that they could upgrade that position. But I still think that the possibility is there to upgrade that position with maybe a smaller tertiary move or a smaller rotationary piece. Because the one thing that this team keeps harping on, and I was just at minicamp today, and you hear Luke Laux talking about, continuity and chemistry, and not wanting to totally, upset the apple cart here, even in the summer league. And you've got guys like Keegan Murray who are, back to play a small portion of summer league, and having him play a different role and kind of find his voice. So getting back to the free agency discussion, I think that they want to be very careful with the cap room, but certainly being a player in this market, and whether that's a swing for the fences type move, doesn't mean you have to go out and overpay. Doesn't matter who they're bringing in. I think still the golden prize at the end of the day, their number one priority is not free agency. It's keeping Domantas Sabonis from becoming an unrestricted free agent next year. And if they can do that this year with an extension for him, freeing up some of the cap space this summer that they've done already, will certainly play a role into that. And I'll say, you guys know this better than anybody. If you're going to be a player in the NBA, top 3, top 5 team in your conference, the likelihood of you being over the cap is very, very high. So
yeah.
There's cap space, and then, we talk about this money as if it's ours. It's not. And you want to be responsible with it, and you don't want to be in a situation much like the Warriors are now, but at least they've got some shiny trophies to show for it, and generational talents to show for it. The Kings don't have that. So I'm not worried about cap space when it comes to the end of the day, and to show that they freed up a bunch to be able to go out and be a player on this open market just means that they're relevant. And you mentioned there's a lot of liars poker and it's going on, and absolutely there is. It's a new space for the Kings to be in. I can tell you that the phone has not stopped blowing up. I mean, you've got agents and all kinds of scouts and people and executives throughout the league who are just chatting a whole lot about the Sacramento Kings, and there's a lot of garbage that's being thrown around, and at the end of the day, something's going to stick.
Sean Cunningham with us. Sean, let's ask you about Sasha Vezenkov. A lot of talk about him over the last few months, really over the last year. It's settled down a little bit over the last couple of weeks. The last we saw was a report from Greece saying that the Kings had offered Vezenkov a little bit less per year than what Keegan is set to make. I took that as the $7.7 million room exception is what the Kings offered. That's my guess on it. How confident are you that they can bring in Vezenkov?
Yeah, nothing's changed there. I mean, I think I was on the station. I said 90% a few weeks, about a month or so back, when Euro Cup was going on, and certainly that hasn't wavered. I mean, the Kings have all the confidence in the world that they'll be able to go out and bring him to Sacramento. It's a move that really they wanted to do last year, but they just didn't really have the money to go out and do it. And certainly the money he can make this year is far and above what they were going to give him last year. So it coincided with great success over there. I think it's all in his camp. I mean, whether or not he wants to, make a fortune to come over here and play in the States and in the NBA level at the highest level of basketball and walk away from really his home and where he's treated like a superstar and he's had a great deal of success. So that might be the only little wiggle room there, but certainly from a Kings perspective, they're all in on him. They're banking on him being in Sacramento, and I come to expect it later on this offseason.
Leading up to draft night, there was some chatter out there that maybe the Kings could move a Davion Mitchell or maybe even a Kevin Huerter in some kind of trade to upgrade the roster. Since opening up the cap space, that seems to have died down. Do you think that's something that's still in play? Is free agency the route now to improve this team, or do you think a trade is still something that might be on the table?
No, I think trades are certainly on the table. I mean, they're having conversations all the time, and when you open up the cap space, you're able to absorb more as well. So there's possibilities that are out there. Sign and trades seem to be a lot more rare these days than in years past. So I don't know if that's the route that you'll see, but with free agency opening tomorrow, gentlemen, I think that, this is just kind of you position yourself well to go out and make a splash. And if some of these, I think you have guys in mind that you'd like to make offers to. I think, we mentioned Kyle Kuzma a few minutes ago. There's probably a handful of others. I think the tough part is you might have interest in guys that are, restricted free agents, and that can be tough. Signing someone like a Cam Johnson to an offer sheet and then having to wait for that period for either Brooklyn to immediately match or, spend that time where, they've got the multitude of days, and then meanwhile everything else is going on around you. So not that he would maybe require the full cap space that's been freed up, but you've got decisions to make. So if you can't come to an agreement with someone like Harrison Barnes, who you do hold the bird rights on, and you can go over the cap to sign, there's a possibility of renouncing him. And I don't think that'll be a possibility, but I just think, right now they're going to be looking at free agency here in the next day or two. Don't take trades off the table, because as you're about to see with Philadelphia, you could easily see the Kings get attached to something like that very, very quickly.
Sean, great stuff, man. As always, we're going to enjoy the next 24, 36, 48 hours and everything that happens. I'm sure you'll be all over it as well. And enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your 4th of July, my man.
Thank you, guys. You too. Appreciate you having me on anytime.
Thank you. There goes Sean Cunningham from Fox 40, friend of the program. And, of course, he was on the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. So two things that really stood out to me. Obviously, Sean said, and I just tweeted this to quote him, make sure I had it right. Sean says he would not say that the Kings are out on Kuzma. He's not willing to go there. He does not believe the Kings are out on Kuzma just yet. And he also believes that 90% chance, 90% shot of Vezenkov coming here to Sacramento. He said that about a month or so ago, a month and a half ago. He still feels as strongly about Vezenkov as he did then. He says 90%. And don't rule anything out.
It's good news.
Anything is possible.
I would like to see Vezenkov come over.
Up next, historical feat by a controversial athlete.